Hey gang, back with another group of CSS tips, this time for borders. I very often see things that pretend to be borders but aren't. Some of those are actually quite clever, but some of them take a lot of extra code. So I'd like to go through a few of the tips that I've discovered, that I've come across in my searches of the internet and books and whatnot, that have really helped slim down that code and make it really easy to maintain. Very simple markup here, an H1, some H2s, and a list, something that looks like a menu. We need something in here, we'll talk about that. The first one is this H1. It has a big chunky rule on this side, maybe it will have another one over here, and it should flex no matter how much text is in there. This is a terrible place for borders. Borders that are flexible like this, almost impossible. I haven't found a way. So don't do it. Stick with your normal plan of using before and after to get that done. In fact, that's exactly how this works. A little bit of display flex and then before and after, and some sensible defaults. Cool thing here, we can round these. So maybe that's a bonus in doing it this way, but a lot of extra code in this just to maintain it. Instead, these things down here, they're fixed width, and this is a very common thing to do. It's also very common to use all of this kind of markup. So position relative, before, and then width height, position absolute, top left, and then your color. And that color can be anything. In this case, it's whatever the text color is. This is a lot of markup for visual fluff, and it's very hard to maintain if you need to do anything. You have all of this stuff to contend with. So I don't really like that. We can do better. Instead, what I recommend is these two lines here. So we set a sensible border on this, border top of 0.3 em, so it'll actually change with the text. And then we use border image, and this is where all the magic happens. We just use a linear gradient that goes to the right. It goes from the current color, which is black, to transparent, and in 2 lines of code we can do all the same stuff that we had before. So 0.3 em, if we want to make it big and chunky, we can make it big and chunky. If we want to make it longer, we can do that. Just in 2 lines instead of all of this stuff, which is just nasty to me. But one thing that I do like to add is this border left, or something to zero everything out, because there's something hiding in there, at least in Safari. And so if you want this to line up nice and clean, zero out your extra borders. Okay. We can do other kinds of accents. One that I haven't really seen on the internet is something that looks like this. You see this in a magazine a lot, where it touches the edge of the page, lines up with a heading. We can do that. Two-tone is the same as black and transparent. No magic there. We can do that. Something that I saw in a recent project, and they used a lot of code to make this work, is this little bit. Okay, and in fact, because I already have those defaults, I don't need this one. I can make it the same size as this, but we can do a little bit of extra stuff using box shadow. This is a great place for that. We can move it to the top, so we can change the position of that and make it quite unique. Okay, but for now, just leave it there. As for these this menu thing, it's very common to have some sort of a leader in here, and there are some crazy complicated ones that use like content that is just like dot space, dot space, dot space, and then they have like overlap hidden, right? It's like 20 or 30 dot spaces with overlap hidden. Man, that's crazy. So here's a simpler way. Goes all the way. Ooh, this one looks ugly. Let me go and turn on this. Change. There it is. So there is some problems with using repeating linear gradient here. On a fixed width menu, you can see it cuts off, and on something that isn't fixed width, you get these gaps, which is very, very curious to me. That's the first time that I've seen that. But there is a better way. It's a very simple way. All I did, whoops, stay on page, go back. Oh no, there it is. So all I did was I created an SVG, which was a 2-pixel circle on an 8-pixel by 2-pixel square. That's all it is. I exported that out. So if we look at this, you can see a dot right there. There it is. There's my little circle dot. And the code is very simple. It's actually a circle inside of an SVG. Nothing fancy. I collapsed that down and added it to my code. So instead of this, I can use this. The only thing that changes is the fact that I went from a linear gradient to an SVG image, and it works, and nothing gets cut off. It's all circles, and it just works like magic, I think. If I turn this the width back on, works no matter where we are. Nothing gets cut off. It's all nice and clean. Really, really easy, and it uses the same thing, that border image. So there's a few little tips and tricks for using border image in places where you normally use a positioned element or some sort of overflow hidden, right? Which just take up a lot of extra code. Give this a try. If you find other tricks or you know of other tricks for managing borders, definitely shoot me a message, comment. I would love to learn more, so do that. Until next time, I will see you later.